All right, everyone, welcome to the stream. Gonna do a quick post-game stream here. Let me just get out the word that we are live. You all can see my screen. Ducks win, what was it, 2-1? Something like that. Get shareable link, great. All right, I'm gonna let people trickle in. Welcome in, everyone. Come on in here. Victory stream. All right, let's review this game. Let's get into it. Make sure that link is working. Is it working? All right. Will I take Luka Doncic questions? No, probably not. Don't believe so. Ducks win. You got to focus on that. Sorry, I'm just gathering myself here. Letting people trickle in. Got 20 of our best friends in here right now. Jake is not here. Jake has some stuff going on. It is a Saturday night, so gonna do a quick hitting little stream. Gonna try to do these every now and again. Maybe just for wins. Trickle in, everyone. Let that trickle. If you are in here right now, especially on YouTube, like the video, like the stream, like Spike. Help the algorithm. Avoid it. He says I'm trickling. Great. I'm gonna give it a couple minutes and then we'll get into this. Let people trickle on in. Very important to trickle. Let's look at Twitter. See what people are saying. Ducks win 3-2. Ducks have won 7 of their last 8 after that OT winner. That seems pretty good. Is that good? I don't know. Let's look around the NHL really quickly here. See what these scores are like. So Utah and LA are tied. St. Louis picks up a point. So like we've been talking about, for the Ducks to climb up in the standings, they're going to need some help. You can see here, Ducks now 7 points back. But Utah and St. Louis could still pick up more points. But it's a jumbled mess, but the Ducks are staying in the jumbled mess. Alex is saying, some of the most frustrating wins I've ever seen. Yeah, this was a weird game. I'm going to give it about another minute here, and then I will start my little vamp. If you have questions you want me to get to, this is going to be mostly Q&A. So you throw them into the chat, and I will get to them after a little bit of a recap. But yeah, this was fun. I enjoyed it. Hi, Bob. Bob is in our chat. Love that for Bob. My dooming days are over. Huh? All right, let's jump in. Enough of me just kind of moseying about here. So Ducks win 3-2 in overtime. And this was a very interesting game, to say the least. So the Ducks came out in the first period and were very, very good. They outshot the Bruins 17-7, and they had one little stretch there where they were suspect defensively. But I thought that overall, if you look at their first period, that was some of the best hockey that they've played this season. They were getting out onto the rush. They were creating plays. They were, for the most part, shutting down the Bruins, except for a little bit of a tough stretch there. But John Gibson was good when he had to be in that first period. And I mean, as far as vibes go, that first period was elite. You had Trevor Zegras getting on the board, a really nice play. I'm not going to show the clips because I don't want to get copyright stricken by YouTube. Sorry, guys, but Trevor Zegras, the really nice goal. It was a rush play where Olin Zellweger shuts down. I think it was Pasternak off the rush, and then he just kind of makes a nice breakout pass out in front, and then Leo Carlsson enters the zone, gets it over to Zegras. Actually, sorry, it was Zegras and Lacombe. They go back and forth a couple times. So Lacombe once again jumping into the play, and Zegras just with a perfect finish. So that was a really nice play, and good for Trevor Zegras as well. I mean, it's funny because there was a quote by him today about, what are you looking forward the most to for this stretch run, or what do you need to do to succeed? And he said, oh, well, just got to keep playing the right way. And I thought that in this game, he made a lot of really smart, low-key kind of winning plays, chipping pucks in, hanging onto the puck when need be. But he also made the big plays, and that's what you really want with Trevor Zegras. It's great that he can be more responsible now, but you still want him getting onto the board, and that's what he did. And then the Ducks would follow that up, going up 2-0, and that was a very well-timed goal because the Ducks had been kind of giving up a lot of chances. They had been really getting hemmed into their own zone, but Radko Gudas, with maybe the best pass of his career, finds Frank Vetrano on the back door, and he just taps it home. So looking at some of the numbers from that first period, at 5-on-5, that first period was played almost exclusively at 5-on-5, which will not remain the case as we go through this little recap. But the shot attempts, just purely from a shot attempt perspective, the Ducks actually outshot attempted the Bruins 24-11 in the first period. And then if you kind of pair that down to shots on goal, it was 16-6 at 5-on-5. So yeah, it was just a really nice period. And I thought that especially what was encouraging for me is the fact that the Ducks were getting opportunities and offensive chances on the rush. That's something that you really want to see them add to their offensive arsenal. And they also had a lot of jump. They were skating hard. They were staying on top of the puck. They were just everywhere. And yes, there was that bad stretch, and I think that there were some individual mistakes that contributed to that. Leo Carlsson gets caught puck watching here and there. But it's hard to play a perfect period. And I think in that period, I'll take the trade of maybe a bad little 4 or 5 minute stretch where the rest is really, really good. I'll take a little more offense against if it means you're generating a lot more for yourself. Okay, so that was the fun part. That was the fun part of the game. Now we get into the second period. And this was just kind of a brutal period for the Ducks. Now, I will say that in a way, it's almost easier to disregard that period because so much of it was shorthanded. So you look at the 11 minutes of 5-on-5 in that period, and yes, the Ducks were badly outplayed. I mean, the shot attempts were 23-5 for the Bruins in that stretch, but it was very disjointed. There were a lot of penalties that the Ducks were just never able to get on the same page. They take 4 penalties in that period. Radko Gudas had a trip on Brad Marchand. He just kind of bodies him up when Marchand doesn't have the puck. And then there were 2 consecutive tripping calls on, David Pasternak getting tripped. So one was John Gibson tripping him, and then, that one I didn't think that was a terrible penalty just because Gibson's just trying to poke check the puck away. And so can't really be too mad about that. But then Brett Leeson, as the Ducks are already down, just gets caught reaching reaching his stick out, not really moving his feet and keeping up with Pasternak. And so just a very blatant trip. The Ducks go down 5-on-3, and at that point, I mean, you can't really get your hopes too high up. And actually what's funny is that, funny for some, but John Gibson was playing really well and even almost made a save on that Elias Lindholm goal, the one-timer, but it just barely squeaked through. At first, it looked like Marchand may have touched it, but it did not. And so afterwards, you get the Ross Johnson trip on Nikita Zadorov, which some people didn't think was a penalty. I thought that it was when you kind of watch the slow-mo replay. So 4 penalties in a period. I mean, there you go. That's practically half the period played shorthanded. There was only 11:44 minutes of 5-on-5 play in that period. And in those minutes, the Ducks weren't as good. And I think that part of that you can attribute to because you're killing so many penalties, you're not able to roll your lines. You're not able to get the kind of flow that you want. That's part of it. But also they weren't as good. The Bruins were really pushing. The Bruins were really forechecking heavily. And I mean, that ultimately really put a dent in the Ducks' chances. And yet, after 40 minutes, they're still up 2-1. So that's overall as good of an outcome. So you really get a yin and yang where that first period was one of the best periods the Ducks have played, and then that second period was just not a good period from any standpoint. Going into the third, I thought that the third was just kind of a strange period. There wasn't really a lot of flow. First off, John Gibson suffers a phantom injury. Lucas Dostal starts the period. He was fantastic in relief of Gibson. And in that period, I thought that the Ducks were not really controlling play, and yet they did do a decent job of keeping Boston to the outside. If you look at like shot attempts, it was pretty low event. It was 13-11 for the Ducks in that period. If you look at, I mean, I don't love this statistic, but Natural Stat Trick keeps track of high danger shot attempts, and it was 3-0 in favor of the Ducks. I don't love that stat, but it kind of illustrates that the Ducks were at least keeping things mostly to the outside. And then in the dying minutes, you get a goal that's initially taken off the board, a tying goal. And at that point, I thought that the Ducks were doing a great job of, they weren't turtling. That's something that on this podcast we've been really critical of is, they get up and then they just kind of go into a shell. They don't really keep attacking or possessing the puck. And instead, in this period, I mean, even in those last 2 minutes, there was a really good shift from the Karlsson line controlling down low. And it really felt like, oh, this is the kind of win that you want to see. Yes, you had a tough middle frame. Yes, things got a little more dicey in the third, but you're finding a way to really take hold of it and down the stretch. And then Boston ties it. And it was a really nice shot by Morgan Geekie, which gets through. And there's been a lot of debate about whether that was goaltender interference. Brian Hayward certainly thought that it was. Initially, it gets waved off for goalie interference. And so I'll just run you guys through the rule. I don't know how well you can see this, but we'll do a little rule reading. Why not? So you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it looked to me as if the contact was initiated by the goalie. And for the purpose of the rule, that really changes the analysis. So here, we have this aspect of the rule, which I think was applied, which is if a goalkeeper in the act of establishing his position within his goal crease initiates the contact with someone in the crease, and this results in an impairment of the goalkeeper's ability to defend his goal, and a goal is scored, the goal will be disallowed. So the key there is that if the goalie initiates the contact, then there's this additional requirement of this results in an impairment. And on that play, Dostal was maybe momentarily stifled or slowed down, but he does eventually get over. He's able to square up to the shot, and then that's pretty much it. I mean, that's I think that the refs, when reviewing that, said, yeah, he wasn't impaired. And so therefore, you get a good goal. The call on the ice gets overturned, because if you look at it otherwise, if an attacking player initiates, so if the player initiates contact with the goalkeeper, it's just disallowed. There is no additional layer to that rule. And so I think that that's why it was overturned, because they deemed that Dostal was the one who initiated the contact. I could be wrong about that, but that's my view of it. There's also, I mean, maybe here's another avenue they may have looked at. If you think that Lindholm is the one who initiated the contact, if an attacking player establishes a significant position within the goal crease, which Elias Lindholm did, so as to obstruct the goalkeeper's vision and impair his ability to defend his goal, and a goal is scored, the goal will be disallowed. Again, you can actually come in and establish body position as the attacking player, but it will only be disallowed if there is an impairment in the goalie's ability to defend his goal, which, again, that's an extra little layer of subjectivity, which maybe people don't like about this rule. For me personally, watching that play with just no knowledge of the rule, yes, there is contact by Elias Lindholm, but Dostal is still able to get over and square up. So I think that the rule was applied correctly, and just from a hockey standpoint, I think that that's the right result. Now, maybe the rule needs to be modified so it's just a bright line. Any contact, we just wave it off, especially contact inside the crease. But that's not how these rules are written. So there's just going to be that layer of subjectivity. And then getting into overtime, the Ducks were able to survive some chances. Lucas Dostal made some great saves. Eventually, you get a rush by Troy Terry, who's able to set up Brian Dumoulin for a potential game-winning goal, but the puck squirts out and finds Leo Carlsson, who has an empty net to shoot at, and he makes no mistake, which, if you followed Leo Carlsson's season, that has not always been the case. He has missed on those before, but instead he finds it, scores, and that's all she wrote. Ducks win 3-2. So high-level stuff. Was this a perfect game? No. Was there good in this game that should give you some confidence about this team? I think so. It really just depends how you want to balance, the periods, because the second was bad, the first was great, and the third was kind of a wash. So it's up to you to decide how to, how to weigh those things. Just looking at some of the individual performances, I'll just quickly run through some players. Like I said, Zegras was good. Zellweger had a decent game. I mean, he had a really important play there on the Zegras goal, and he switched over to white tape, so maybe that changed something. I thought that Leo Carlsson was a little better tonight. Drew Hellison did a good job of getting shots on net, but he wasn't the best in terms of breaking the puck out. Jackson Lacombe was his usual involved self. And McTavish had some okay moments as well. I thought that he was a bit more aggressive getting to the inside of the ice offensively. And then Troy Terry was just great as per usual. So that is my quick rundown. I'm going to hang around here for a little bit. So if anyone has a question or just a comment, throw it into the chat now and I will touch on it. But I am not going to be here much longer. So if you want more of this, throw something in. I'm going to look through the chat to see if anything has been asked. Nick says, it may not be pretty, but man, is it great seeing this team actually winning games. Yeah, I mean, I think that Jake is not on the stream right now, so he's not here to defend this, but I think that there have been times where they are winning games and they're legitimately playing poorly. And I think that for me, I think it's okay to be frustrated by that. I thought tonight, though, there was enough good to where, yes, it wasn't perfect, but I think you can kind of live with it when they're at least showing something throughout the course of the game. Let's see. Anything else? Cronin's lead defending personnel is horrible. Yeah, I actually didn't see I wasn't paying attention to what the D pairings were at the end there. Was that part of the issue? We can take a quick look. But like I was saying earlier, I don't think that the Ducks were turtling and really shelling up like usual. I thought that they were actually keeping a good pace even when they were leading. King Deplorable says, I have changed my mind. Let's not trade Zegras. Yeah, you shouldn't trade Zegras. He was great. People were throwing cans on the ice. That's not good. The Bruins fans were booing their own team. They were booing the power play, which It's kind of a tough look. I mean, the team is in the hunt. The Bruins are not out of the playoff picture by any means. So that's a little crazy to me. Let's see. Let's look at everyone's favorite chart, the Hockey Viz shift chart. I don't know how well you guys can see this. Okay. So this is a chart of how the different shifts were allocated. So let's see how this, even I'm having trouble reading this. So down the stretch, we did get the Trouba Dumoulin pairing. Uh-oh, Jake is not gonna like that. But it was just for one shift. Or no, sorry, 2 shifts. 3 shifts? Let's go with 2 shifts. Right there. As far as forward personnel, who was out there at the end? You had the Strome line, that's fine. The Carlson line was out there for a bit. I mean, they were still rolling 4 forward lines. The forward lines were not really altered there at the end, so I think that's good. Looks like there was a slight change made. McTavish, Fabry, and Lundestrom. Oh, okay. But Gauthier did eventually get put back out there, so I don't know. Does Finland beat the first period Ducks is a question. Well, Finland in the NHL would be very, very good because of their forwards. So I don't know if that's a very pertinent topic. Jacob asks, in the last pod, you did your pretend debate on the team actually playing better. Do you think they're playing differently better in any way? Well, I think tonight they were definitely playing better in the first period. This is not any sort of me trying to make an argument. I just think the first period was legitimately solid hockey. And then I think that like we've already discussed, the second period was bad. But the third period, I thought that as far as this season's Ducks go and protecting leads, that was one of their better jobs at doing that. Maybe I'll go back, rewatch this and think differently, but that was my thought as I was watching this game. Luchador asks, does someone trade a bag of pucks for Fabry? I don't know are the Ducks even going to trade him? Have we thought about that? Is that even going to happen if the Ducks are in a playoff race? They just treat him as their own rental? Let's see, there was another question. Chicken Taco Salad asks, in the goalie interference rule, is a player pushing a goalie in retaliation for a goalie pushing him allowed? You could say the goalie initiated the interaction, but skater... Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that threshold question of who initiated the contact is really important. And there is also 2 different rules for outside the goal crease and inside the goal crease. So tonight they were applying the inside the goal crease rule. And I guess we have a little language on for the purposes of the rule, a player establishes a significant position within the crease when, in the referee's judgment, his body or a substantial portion thereof is within the goal crease for more than an instantaneous period of time. So to your question, Chicken Taco Salad, it is kind of up to the discretion of the referee, which I know people don't like that. I don't hate that. Like, to me, you either go completely bright line of just any contact, no goal, or you have to leave room for subjectivity. Let's see. What's instantaneous? Asked Daniel Lowry. Yeah, I mean, again, all these words are completely up to the interpretation, but instantaneous is right away to me. And Lindholm's position there was more than instantaneous. He was in there for a little bit. So Brett says 4 Nations was more entertaining than the Super Bowl. Well, yeah, that's a very low bar, but I agree. Lewis asks, which country in the 4 Nations would have the best chance in winning a Stanley Cup if they were the 33rd team? I'm going to say Canada, because Canada beat USA. But it would be Canada or USA, one of those two. Alex asks, with the injuries to key players during the 4 Nations, do we get another one? Yes. I mean, I think that... Here's the thing. The players wanted to go back to the Olympics. The NHL wants a slice of that international best on best pie. The Four Nations, the World Cup of Hockey, is essentially a compromise between the NHLPA and the NHL to allow the players to go back to the Olympics. And so there are risks, but they have agreed to a string of international events now. And so the owners are okay with it. Is the simple answer. They agreed to it. Okay. If anyone has any other questions or topics, throw them in now. Otherwise, we will get out of here. Let's do a little scoreboard update. Everyone's favorite chart. Let's see. Scoreboard update. Canucks Golden Knights just started. Utah takes the lead against LA. That is not good for the Ducks. The Ducks want a Kings regulation victory. So Ducks fans tonight are also Kings fans. I'm sorry to inform everyone. Let's see. Jets beat the Blues in a shootout, so that is good news for the Ducks, who did not want the Blues to pick up a second point. And I'm trying to see any other relevant matchups. Holy crap, the Caps beat the Penguins 8-3. Yikes. Penguins need to just blow that thing up. Kraken beat the Panthers. That is relevant to the Ducks, and that is not good. The Kraken are in there jostling for position with the Ducks. Make sure I'm refreshing this. All right, so standings update, final standings update. Canucks 63 points, and the Canucks are playing right now against Golden Knights. Flames are at 60, 55 games played. Utah at 57 points, 56 games played. They are just 1 point ahead of the Ducks. Ducks do have a game in hand on Utah as of right now, and Utah is playing LA right now, so the Ducks fans do want to cheer for LA tonight. And Seattle winning tonight puts them at 54 points, but they do have 3 more games played than the Ducks. So the Ducks picking up points tonight was really good just to vault ahead of the Kraken, but having games in hand is the key there, because if you look at points percentage, the Ducks are at a 509 points percentage, and the Kraken are at 466. So even if the Ducks hadn't won, the Kraken aren't necessarily the biggest threat to the Ducks. This is like the most in-depth standings watch I think I've done in years for the Ducks. That isn't related to the draft lottery. So, Daniel asks, thoughts on the draft being in LA? No thoughts. Cool, I guess. Decentralized will be interesting. A little bit of a different spectacle. Alex says Fowler got traded to a team the Ducks are ahead of in the standings. Crying emoji. Yeah, well, I think the Fowler trade was more about just getting him somewhere else. But yeah, that is pretty crazy. Okay, well, thank you for tuning in, everyone. This was fun. Maybe we'll do this again tomorrow. We'll see. We're only going to do this for wins. I think that's going to be the rule. It's got to be a good vibes win. But if you enjoyed this, make sure to like the video, like the stream, whatever the technical term is. And we will talk to you soon. Oh, the Kings just scored, according to Nate. Is that true? Let's see. Oh, yeah, they just tied it up. Kevin Fiala, power play goal. Crazy. Well, a Utah regulation loss is what the Ducks fan base wants tonight. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Oh, Brett with a late question. When was the last time we were above 500 this late in the season? I don't know. I haven't really paid attention to the standings in years. So the best I can come up with might be the 21-22 season. The season where they started off really well, and then the big COVID wave happened and things kind of went to crap. That might have been it, but honestly, it's been a while since the Ducks have at least been relevant in the standings. Also, one thing I'll throw in before I get out of here, Jake has not watched the game yet. I know this for a fact because I texted him, can I give you a spoiler? And he said no. So I'm very curious to see what his take about this will be, because I feel like him and I may have a very different view. I feel like I could be wrong, but I think Jake is going to give more weight to the last 40 minutes and not the first 20. But we will see. We will see what that will be like. That is the beauty of this. But thanks for watching, guys, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good one.